regarding the Democrats, the war on terror, the war in Iraq. You know, I keep saying they are invested in defeat. The new phrase that I think is really good, they own defeat. They will have ownership of defeat. American people do not like to lose wars. They do not like to quit in the middle of wars, contrary to popular media belief. There are two recent polls illustrating this very point. Both have been cited on this program, one from Investors Business Daily and the other from Opinion Research that we cited for you a couple of days ago. The American people do not like terrorists. The American people love their military as much as the left and the Democrats hate the military. And the consequences of a withdrawal from Iraq or anywhere else in the war on terror will be a disaster. Remember Senator Schumer gleefully talking about how the Democrats are going to recreate Vietnam. They're going to flood the administration with resolution after resolution after resolution. What was Vietnam? It was a loss for America. Schumer gleeful. Democrats happy. They want to recreate Vietnam where we lost and millions of innocent people died. You want to know what will happen in Iraq if we pull out of there as we did in Vietnam? Check Cambodia. Check South Vietnam. The Democrats, in addition, were shellacked in elections for years, despite Watergate. Jimmy Carter was it for them after Vietnam until Bill Clinton came along in 1993 when he was inaugurated. And yet they look at this as a moment of greatness in their past. How convoluted can this be? The only thing I can think is that their desire to recreate a Vietnam out of Iraq is that they think that Vietnam, and the way they prosecuted that, forced Nixon eventually out of office, which they would love to do to George W. Bush. But here's the thing. As much as the left and the Democrat Party will try to pin this on Bush or the Republicans, it won't work. Schumer and these Democrat candidates have staked out positions that they will rue. Mark my word and take comfort in what I'm telling you. Their words today, just as their words back in Vietnam, will be their undoing tomorrow. The American people do not like genocide. The American people don't like the nut job who runs Iran, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. The American people don't like Hezbollah. The American people don't like Palestinian terrorists. They resent Americans who do end up supporting these terrorist groups. And these groups like Hezbollah, the Palestinian terrorists, will be empowered if we leave Iraq. And of course, the enemy will have gained territory. The enemy will have gained resources and momentum, the likes of which they could never have dreamed. And it will all have been handed to them by the Democrats if the Democrats succeed in getting us to defeat ourselves in Iraq. What will happen after that is that attacks against Israel will be launched. Europe will have attacks against it launched, especially Britain. And they will do so here, of course, if they can. The terrorists I'm talking about. They will be emboldened as the Democrats who own defeat secure our pullout from Iraq if they are able to do this. All of this will be laid at their feet, the Democratic Party's feet, despite the best efforts of the Democrats and their media mouthpieces to pin it on somebody else. Here's the thing, folks. The Democrat Party and the left in this country have deluded themselves into believing that the November election, which they won by a thin margin, frankly, was a mandate for defeat. They are interpreting the election results last November as a mandate for defeat, a mandate for humiliation of the United States, and a mandate for genocide. But that's not what they ran on, if you'll recall. They ran as moderates. They ran against corruption. They ran against Mark Foley. They did not advocate surrender. They did not advocate defeat and its consequences. Jack Murtha told to keep quiet until after the election. Nancy Pelosi pretended to be something that she wasn't. But now they're out there in full liberal mode for all of us to see. They are racing further and further to the left. And I'm here to tell you today that the country will suffer while Democrats control Congress and if they win the presidency in 2008. But make no mistake, they are sowing the seeds of their own political undoing down the road. If the Middle East explodes, And if even more nutcases like Ahmadinejad are unleashed, the Democrats are the ones who will be directly responsible, period. No one else. They own defeat. They are the only people talking in the manner in which they are talking. Besides that, I will not let them forget their responsibility and their role. These Democrats, and many more, are also sowing the seeds of their own electoral defeat. This is practically something happening party-wide. And they haven't the slightest clue. They think they're on top of the world. They have ascended the highest peak. They are so happy and ecstatic. They're on the verge of securing a U.S. defeat. They think they own it, folks, if it happens. And they think the American people want to lose wars. They think the American people want U.S. soldiers dying in sufficient numbers to cause us to lose wars. The Democrats have been so adamant, so purposeful in our country's defeat, there's not going to be a way for them to spin themselves out of this. The American people do not want their soldiers on the battlefield without reinforcements if they need them, Congressman Murtha. The American people want soldiers to have the equipment they need, which Murtha and Pelosi and Reid and Durbin seek to deny them because they are the owners of defeat. The Democrats have misread the public's dissatisfaction with the way the war is being waged, with the public's demand for surrender. The public is not demanding surrender. The public does not want to get out of Iraq in the midst of defeat. The fact is, if the president unleashed our military might against enemy strongholds, border areas in Iran and Syria, his poll numbers would go through the roof. It's not, do they actually believe? Maybe they do. Maybe they believe the polling, that their buds in the drive-by media is secure for them. But I know this country. And I know the people of this country don't want to lose. And I know the people of this country do not want another Vietnam. They don't want a repeat of the equivalent of the Vietnamese boat people. The American people do not like defeatists in their midst. We are an optimistic, upbeat, cheerful people. And we certainly want to be. And people in this country who find themselves mired in depression and whatever, if you are one of those, I want to tell you the reason why is because you're naturally optimistic and you're being pummeled with pessimism day in and day out. It's hard not to believe it when you've been subjected to it for 4 or more years. You need to have faith in the American people, as I have and always have had. Now, we conservatives can't win every election, of course. But the idea that this past election was about and for America's defeat is a delusion. It's a dangerous delusion. Yet that's what the drive-by media want you to believe. In fact, they want you to believe that's what you're saying to them in their polls. That's what the Democrats want you to believe. That's why they say they're acting on it. They say they're doing this because you want defeat. You want the troops out. You want us pulled back. You want the troops not to get reinforcement. You want the troops not to get new equipment, like Congressman Murtha is saying. They're saying this is what you want. And they're saying that's what last November's election was about. You need to have confidence the American people will fix this as they did after 4 years of Jimmy Carter.